Israel has struck a decisive blow, killing Hamas's shadowy spokesman, Abu Obeida, a figurehead even bigger than Sinwar inside Gaza. His death isn't just the end of a voice, it's a turning point in Hamas's propaganda war. But will it prove to be a milestone in Israel's war against Hamas? Will it help weaken its grip on the Gazan population? And how will it affect the day after the war? We have the one and only Yoseph Haddad on the show today to help us break it down. You don't want to miss the episode of The Quad, only on JNS. And welcome back, everybody, to The Quad. And here in our Jerusalem studios with my wonderfully gorgeous co-host, Emily Schrader, human rights activist and journalist, Shoshana Keats-Jaskell, the founder of Chokhmat Nashim, Elevating Orthodox Women's Voices, and today a very special guest, Yoseph Haddad, an activist par excellence and Al Jazeera's worst nightmare. Welcome, Yosef.
Thank you for having me.
We had a little bit of protexia to get you here, but we've been trying to get you here for a while.
I wonder how.
But it's wonderful to have you on our show. And it's actually very important that you're here today because something huge has happened. Huge. The chief propagandist, whose name is Abu Obeida, who to us maybe is not such a household name, but amongst the Palestinians is a huge name. Yosef, please tell us the significance of the fact that Israel has eliminated the chief propagandist, an icon in Gaza and around the world, around the Arab world.
Yep.
How is the Arab media interpreting this, and what's going on in the Palestinian street?
Well, if I say Yahya Sinwar, probably the majority of people who are watching this show will say, we know this mega terrorist.
Yeah.
He's the head of Hamas, and when we eliminated him, that was a huge achievement. Let me put it this way. This goes one by one with Yahya Sinwar in terms of the achievement of eliminating Abu Obeida, which is his name is Samir Abdullah al-Kahlout. This is his real name.
Yeah.
But for many people, even in Gaza, they don't know his real name. They know that his name is Abu Obeida, the official spokesman of the terrorist organization Hamas. For them, it's the resistant. This is a huge deal. And when I pick my heroes of the day, we will talk about the Israeli intelligence and we will talk about their achievement. But I want to say that this is a day to celebrate, a day for every Israeli to understand that we are shutting the mouth of the terrorist organization Hamas, the iconic symbol of the young generation in Gaza and in the Arab world. I mean, just look, for instance, on this video right here, when you see a kid just loving Abu Obeida because he thought he saw him and it was just a construction worker. This is what the symbol of Abu Obeida in terms of...
Also a symbol, of course, of them glorifying terrorists. You know, we're talking about a small infant child who's praising it. I mean, that's what she recognizes. It's not even Hamas Mickey Mouse. So
Eli Sharabi, the hostage that came out, said that when he was in the dungeons of Hamas, that they was shocked that he didn't know who Abu Obeida was because he's so iconic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't shocked when they said that to Eli Sharabi, like, how can't you know?
Did you know him?
Of course.
Why? Because he's the guy who's the face of Hamas on Arab TV?
Not only that, the texts that he uses,
right?
The way he says it, the whole shtick. You know, the cover, his nickname, among other nicknames, is the covered man. Because he is covered in the red
sense of aura around.
Yes, of course. And the fact is that they are waiting for him to say something, to update. He is the voice when it comes to those who support Hamas and support terrorism. He was the voice to calm people and make them think that they are winning and that they are strong. Now, one of the things that I picked up yesterday when I celebrated his elimination.
Oh, Yosef, how could you?
Very easily.
We will celebrate here today as well as part of my tradition as a Arab Middle Eastern. We will get to that very soon.
Baklawa.
But first, what I wanted to tell you is that I saw a video clip of him saying this. On the 7th of October, we've proven to the world, that's what he says, or he said, we've proven to the world that the IDF is an army to be defeated, and we defeated him. and all the intelligent units you can take and throw to the garbage, and the Merkava, which is the Israeli tanks, a famous Israeli tank, you can throw that as well. And we broke the IDF, we destroyed the IDF. And when I saw and heard that we eliminated him, that video clips stayed here in my mind, and the voices the sentences that he said, it was clear cut to my ears. And then I realized we destroyed him, we broke him, and a few days before that, one of our Merkava tanks just went through and ran over a terrorist with an RPG. And then the IDF still exists, Israel still exists. The majority of Hamas terrorists, they do not exist anymore. And we're gonna keep and doing absolutely everything to eliminate each and every one of those mega terrorists. And you know what? This is the time to actually celebrate the death of this ugly person, whether from the outside or from the inside. So first of all, as the respect that this terrorist deserves is one, well, doing this.
Action.
And second, this is baklawa. Now, in my tradition, yes, when there is a cause to celebrate,
Yes.
we buy baklawa.
Then, I'm Safari, I hear you.
And then it is by tradition, yeah, it is, you have to celebrate.
You have to.
And you have to get some baklawa. So here to the IDF, our heroes, thank you for eliminating yet another mega terrorist like Abu Obeida and send him to hell. Mabruk.
Thank you so much, Yoseph, and we will definitely celebrate with you. Who cares about the diet? But this is a moment.
Kosher, make it.
Oh, go for Jana.
Admin, clear, it's kosher.
Also, this week, of course, we had the Houthis. The IDF eliminated almost the entire Houthi leadership.
I gained 3 kilos, Emily.
It's been quite a week of celebration.
It is quite a week of celebration, and you're absolutely right to bring up the Houthis. And I think there seems to be a lot of confusion around the world that everybody, I mean, all the haters, you know, your favorite people like Anna Kasparian that you completely crush every time you're in front of. But essentially, they're all celebrating, they're all condemning Israel for killing the Prime Minister of Yemen. And they don't seem to understand that the Houthis are a little bit like Hezbollah in Lebanon. They are a state within a state. And what we're killing here is another arch-terrorist, which frankly has made our lives really difficult for the last year and a half.
Theirs. I mean, the Houthis that have driven Yemen into a civil war with over 200,000 casualties from famine alone.
Starvation, real starvation, not the propaganda of starvation.
Not only that, but they have child soldiers.
Yes.
Boys 10 to 12 years old, they
Yes.
put guns in their hands and saying, you're men now, go kill. And they take girls 10 to 12 years old and they force
They
them
marry them off.
Yeah.
married.
This is exactly the civilizational battle that we're fighting.
Yeah, it's
But the
crazy.
question is anything changing in Gaza, like the people, as a result of these eliminations? Just watch this video.
اجى انسان مسيحي علينا ضيق، ينفع اقول والله اطلع برا ممنوع تدخل؟ لا. طيب ليش؟ مين يشرح لي ليش؟ ايش السبب؟
لأن اسمه لازم تكتر الضيف، لأننا سواسي.
لأننا سواسية، برافو عليك. ينفع أنا أنتهك حقها أو أحبسها وأحطها في مكان؟
لا.
حق الحرية من حق الإنسان إنه يعيش بحرية، يعيش بأمل، يعيش بأمان. السبب كله لحركة حماس كانت من أهم يعني الأشياء السلبية اللي أنا كنت يعني عليها مأخذ اللي هي التحيز.
احنا أمنا أولادنا قبل هيك وجربنا وسلمناهم للمساجد لتوصل أولادنا منا باسم الدين.
غاية الفرح والسرور وأن أجد أبنائي بين هؤلاء الحفظة، أن أجد أبنائي يحفظون القرآن الحق، حفظ دين الإسلام الحق الذي لا حزبية فيه ولا تعصب فيه.
Is there hope here that perhaps something will turn around, Emily?
Oh, I think I'm the wrong person to ask. I mean, I'm not very optimistic about Gaza. I think there's a very, very, very small minority of Gazans who do actually want to change. But again, I mean, a lot of the changes that we're seeing are a result of people slowly and painfully realizing that Hamas is indeed the problem. It is not Israel that is the source of their pain and suffering. But that doesn't mean they like us either. So I really don't hold out a lot of hope for Gaza, at least in the immediate future. I think they're going to have a very, very strong, probably arguably dictatorial leadership in order to manage the society. But I mean, you're in touch with Palestinians on a regular basis, so you're following closely what's going on in Gaza. I mean, what's your take?
Yeah, so basically, in order for Gazans to change their way of thinking about Israel, their education must change.
Exactly.
And as long as the education is aligned with the terrorist organization Hamas principles, then you won't see a change. Now, if you ask any IDF soldier who went and cleared houses in Gaza, when I say cleared is because a lot of them has bombs, ammunitions inside even children bedroom, and every house, every room, you have the full map of Israel, and they claim it's Palestine from the river to the sea. So they don't see Israel as part of the future of the region. So that's why, as long as the education is like this, we will never see a change. That's why the majority of Gazans celebrated on the 7th of October. That's why the majority of Gazans wanted the 7th of October to happen. But there is hope. And hope comes from two directions. The first direction is today, more and more Gazans speaking out loud against Hamas and against what they did on the 7th of October. Not because they love Israel, not because they're suddenly Zionists.
Of course.
No. But because they saw how Hamas abandoned the Gazan people and only care about Hamas and their leaders. So I've seen tons of videos. I'm not joking. It's not like 1, 2, 3, or even dozens of videos. It's even hundreds and thousands of videos from Gaza of Palestinians blaming Hamas for the continuance of this war. So while we have some Israelis, and of course some of the Western people talking and attacking Israel, you have Palestinians in Gaza attacking Hamas and speaking about Hamas. So if the IDF continues to strike Hamas and send a clear message, there is no future for Hamas in Gaza, we will start seeing more Gazans speaking out loud against Hamas. And then the second part is which actually what you said, about forcing a new education about for the young generation in Gaza. And if those two things happens, maybe we can see a better future, but this is a very
well, it would be good if the UN stopped funding a poisonous, that the UN is funding in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, is funding the same curriculum that the kids in Gaza were ingesting, is the same curriculum in the Palestinian Authority. And let me tell you, the same curriculum in East Jerusalem until, thankfully, recently, we managed to kick UNRWA out of the city. Shoshana, you're a woman who is always into the education or re-education of people in radical spheres. Do you see some hope here?
Well, I see hope anywhere there are young people, okay? Like, that's just who I am. It's who I have to be. I do believe that I've seen it. I've interviewed people who were raised as radical fanatics, terrorists, who were raised, from their mothers to their fathers to hate Jews and want to kill them. And you see them every day, thank God. So yes, I do have hope for change. But you mentioned something, and I want to just put a finer point on it. It's not that the UN is funding the curriculum. It's the UN's curriculum. Yes. I mean, they are full-on partners in the wait to destroy Israel. Yeah. They're not separate at this point. They are embedded, they are together. The UNRWA is something that has to...
Gaza issue.
Exactly. UNRWA has to be finished because all it does is perpetuate the false idea that Palestine will become Israel, that Israel will become Palestine, and that and it perpetuates these children from not having a future.
Yeah.
Why is anyone
the bottom line.
okay with this?
Yes.
Remind me, what's the name of this absolute idiot who...
it doesn't narrow it down.
I'm going there. Special...
the guy from the...
No. Francesca.
Albanese, yes. Special
we managed to arrive at that name.
Special rapporteur.
Yes, special rapporteur.
Yes.
So she spoke in one of the events that she had in Italian, by the way, and she's saying in Italian, very, very confident, yeah? She's like, you have no idea who Hamas or Hamas built schools, Hamas built hospitals. So everybody is talking about Hamas being a terrorist organization. No, they're not a terrorist organization. And she is a representative of the United Nations.
Yes.
Now, here's what she's not telling, and I really waited for something like this to address that. If you go to any hospital, any school, you will find names like Al-Qatar School, Al-Doha School, Al-Dubai School, Al-Emirat School, all of the names of Arab countries who put money, millions on millions, to build those schools, to build those hospitals.
Yeah.
It's not Hamas building this. It's
course.
the Arab countries who are giving the money, and then after that, Hamas goes and blame Arab countries for betraying them and for being Zionist friendly or whatever they are. And when a UN representative says that and mislead everyone who was in that event, and further than that, literally support a terrorist organization, then you can surely say the UN is a biased organization, and in a way, the only one way to deal with it is to make sure that this body is destroyed and rearranged again, once and for all, not just for Israel, but for the entire Middle East and maybe the entire world.
Which brings us very, very seamlessly to the point of the United States banning the Palestinian mission from showing up at the UN for the declaration of the weak European countries, and Canada and Australia, of course, of this Palestinian statehood. I mean, symbolically, this is a huge humiliation, I would say, speaking in Middle Eastern terms. But is it like a shift in American policy?
Well, of course it is. I mean, I think we've seen with the Trump administration, they've had a very different approach than the prior administration from the beginning, love it or hate it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a positive first step to holding the Palestinian Authority, all of it, accountable, for pay for slay, which is, paying millions, tens of millions of dollars to the families of terrorists who commit acts against Israeli civilians. They have a whole fund that goes to that, and that is, of course, against U.S. law to provide any kind of aid to the Palestinians, and yet they still haven't cut this funding. So it is an ongoing issue. They have supported terrorism through their various factions throughout their existence. So I think it's a great first step. There needs to be accountability.
Accountability, exactly. There's never been accountability. It's what I call the bigotry of low expectations. It's almost like, oh, they're savages, so it's okay if they talk about killing everyone because that's what they know. No, you hold these people accountable because that's what they have to hold. And again, we talked about the symbolic thing with Abu Obeida, but still, you've got Qatar running free as the poison machine of the Islamists. You've got Sunni moderate Arab countries like the UAE, like Saudi, that have kicked out Al Jazeera and that are saying, even the Arab League is saying, Hamas can no longer continue to be in power in the Gaza Strip, which I think is an incredible achievement. So how does this all come together into thinking about the day after?
Well, I always say that the day after it should be all on what we decide, Israel. Look, my approach to the Middle East is a bit different from the usual approach. Because if you ask for the usual approach, you will see people would say, okay, let's have connections with the UAE, with Saudi Arabia, and make sure that we have, through those connections, a better future for not only the Middle East,
region.
But exactly. So it's not just for Gaza, but for the entire Middle East. And I say there's a bigger, or at least in my thought, bigger and better option, and which is the Arab-Israeli society here. Look, we understand the mentality. We understand, obviously, the language. It is our mother tongue language. And we have already relationships, whether with Saudis, with Emiratis, Bahrain, of course, Egypt and Jordan, and within the Palestinian territories as well. We have, and we understand them, and we can know, I don't know if we can say
Yes, we can. Fine. Go ahead.
So we know when they are bullshit. And I think that the future of Israel and the future of the Middle East will be much better when the Israeli Arab society is fully integrated, and there are many amazing figures from the Arab society that they are proud to be Arabs, proud to be Israeli. This is my message as well to everyone who's watching us. You have here Arab Israelis serving in the army, you have Arab Israelis serving as judges, Supreme Court judges, doctors, lawyers, journalists. We have to give the Arab voice more power, especially those who are proud to be Israelis as well, because we can make a lot of change with obviously the good connections with other Arab countries in the world. I think this is a good step to a better future in the Middle East and better Israel.
I totally agree with you, Yosef, but you're a little bit of a persona non grata with the Arab-Israeli politicians in the
Oh, yeah,
Knesset.
absolutely.
They don't like you very much.
They don't like me. This is a...
They run away.
You've been
I'm
kind.
being nice.
You've been really nice.
I've seen the Knesset sessions when they try and get you kicked out. The point
You know why, though?
But do they represent the average Arab-Israeli voice, or are they still of the old school of thought of let's resist Israel, but we're going to use the privileges we have in the Knesset?
We know that they are not.
Right.
Because the Arab Israelis are saying it.
They're saying it.
They're saying it every time they don't go to vote as well. There's at least 10 seats in the parliament that the Arab Israelis can bring, and they don't because they have nobody to vote for. Okay, so this is actually a really good question, because people do not understand how the Arab Israelis have a misrepresentation. Because if you see if you understand Arabic, if you read Arabic, you will see on social media how they're criticizing Ahmed Tibi. So wait. So you have people from the Arab society criticizing Ahmed Tibi and Ayman Odeh?
Yeah.
Why don't we hear that? Because they're not speaking in Hebrew and they're not writing it in English. They're writing it in Arabic.
Of course.
So the more you know Arabic, then you would be, you could see those things. I'm not saying that we don't have extremists within our society. We do have.
There's extremists everywhere.
Since day one. Yeah,
There's extremists in the Jewish society as well.
absolutely. But put me aside, I can give you today dozens of names that not only can represent Israel, but can be also in the negotiation tables right now in Qatar and doing a better job.
I'm with you. I think that the mentality thing, the bridging, I always say that about Ashkenazis and Sephardis, and people criticize me, but I do think that when you understand the mentality, then it's much easier to make that bridge.
Much more successful.
Much more successful, exactly, because you're speaking in the language that people understand.
Yep.
And that's always my criticism of Israel, that you have a lot of people with a European mindset talking to people in a Middle Eastern mindset, and it doesn't work.
And you have people in a Middle Eastern mindset speaking to those in a Western mindset, but that's a whole other issue.
By the way,
the government. I wanted to bring it actually full circle, what you were saying, because everything you're saying, obviously, I agree with. But furthermore, I think this is a larger issue than just the Israeli Arab society. This is an issue. This is a regional issue. I mean, when we're talking about acting as a Middle Eastern state in the Middle East, it also applies to what we started by speaking about, which is the information war, the propaganda war. I mean, Israel's faced criticism. Today, there's a campaign even against Israel, claiming that they're killing journalists, that they've killed over 200 journalists.
Well planned.
Of course, it's
Coordinated. Curated.
The idea that Israel is somehow against journalism or against the spread of information, which in the enemies we're fighting is not information, it's propaganda. And in many cases, it's completely falsified stories. So when you see strikes on people like Abu Obeida, not legitimate journalists, but people like Abu Obeida, or when you see what they did in Iran with the Broadcasting Authority, this is a body that's the literal mouthpiece of the Ayatollah himself. They have broadcasted torture, they broadcasted forced confessions, they broadcasted executions. Like, this is not a media agency, and we need to be able to differentiate between media and terrorism. And right now, those lines are so intentionally blurred by our enemies. And so we need to be very, very firm about what we're fighting against. This isn't a war on journalists.
Well, the problem is that when the mainstream media is actually parroting the propaganda of the extremists, mainstream media is swallowed it. They don't do any due diligence. They take a picture of a sick child and they say this is starvation. Then what could you expect? The world's turned upside down.
But by the way, like for instance, take Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera are really smart because they have Arabic and they have English. The way they present themselves in English is completely different from the way they represent themselves in Arabic. By the way, just to let you know, in English, you will see shows or articles about the LGBTQ community.
Really?
Every once in a while, the mask slips. That there was that one video they had about how Jews are using the Holocaust. That was a nice one in English.
So basically, they will show a different side of journalism in English. But if you go to Arabic, if they do half of the things that they do in English, they will be shut down by their own people who watch them. Yeah, that level.
Al Jazeera? Who is Al Jazeera?
Qatar. Qatar.
And no one talks about the fact that it's Qatar.
No,
because everybody's been paid off.
It is.
Everybody except me. Everybody.
Look, I've been speaking about it from day one. Qatar is a terrorist state.
Yeah.
Al Jazeera is a terrorist channel. He's in the official spoke channel of Hamas, literally. And not only Hamas, but the Houthis, Hezbollah, all of them. And some of their journalists participated on the 7th of October, and some of them were active terrorists in Gaza, and even kept or came in contact with
They kept hostages.
Of course.
They kept hostages.
So just to make sure that everybody understand who Al Jazeera is once and for all. If I, as an Arab, was watching only Al Jazeera, I have two outcomes. Either I am the biggest anti-Israel person in the world and also anti-Semitic because there's a lot of hatred towards Jews, or I'm an actual terrorist.
That's it. Those are it. That's what's left in Gaza, though. The journalists, the ones that work for Hamas, and the ones that sympathize with Hamas, or the ones that are scared of Hamas. And that's
Speaking of like Western mindset and Middle Eastern mindset, I think people at home need to understand something. The fact that they dress nice and they look nice and they wouldn't pick up a knife themselves doesn't mean they won't pay the people who do pick up the knives. They do pick up the bombs. They do, because they're just their worker bees, right? The people in Qatar, the people who are living pretty and they're in their luxury hotels and they are living life, but they want the same outcome. They want Israel gone. They want the Jews submissive at least, but they're just the ones bankrolling it. So you have to understand that you can look one way and you don't have to look like a terrorist to be a terrorist. You can be the bankroller of the terrorist.
And do you know how much they are filthy liars? Let me tell you this.
Tell me.
So according to Islam, you're not allowed to drink alcohol. If I tell you that in Qatar right now, you have lunch in every hotel and every place in any palace or whatever it is for those, for their kings or their presidents or whatever leaders they have, every day there's a possibility that one of them is going down on a bottle of wine.
God.
I am telling you, they drink alcohol like nobody else drink alcohol. And yet they after that come and speak about how they need to be, you know,
Pure.
a really good Muslim. And they're not. They're terrorists, they're hypocrites, they're liars.
And they use their own people, and people don't realize that. They use their own people. They use the Palestinians as their fodder, their frontline fodder. They don't care what happens to them as long as they beat, they beat the Jews.
Yeah, but think about it. They're smart. They're putting themselves everywhere. Like every major event, you have Qatar Airways commercial. Everywhere.
The football team.
Yes, football team. Culture.
BBC. All of it. Just look at an advert on CNN in America.
But this is their way.
Qatar Airways, Qatar Smart City, Qatar this, Qatar that.
Yeah. And lavish gifts for all of them.
And the lavish gifts, and we know what's going on with Tucker Carlson and the checks he's getting, and Piers Morgan is getting flown all around the world to watch football games. And today, I have to say, as we finish this part of the program, today there's a law being going through the Knesset to call Qatar an enemy state. And maybe also some Israelis involved with Qatar will finally wake up. And now for our very favorite, very popular segment, Scumbag of the Week. I don't even want to, let's start with Yoseph because I've got a feeling this is going to take a while. Yoseph, who's your Scumbag of the Week?
Wow. Scumbag of the Week. I'm going to go with the extreme immigrants who arrive to the Western world.
Okay, Europe or anywhere?
Anywhere in the West. It could be Australia, North America, or Europe.
Are those machine gun earrings staying in her?
Yeah, machine gun earrings. My name is Esther Karam.
Okay,
I'm 22 years old. I'm a Palestinian. I have no fucking problem saying I support Hamas because they are the true fighters of Palestine and they're gonna bring back Palestine because you guys are fucking white supremacist idiots that need to wake the fuck up.
Sorry, who are the white supremacist idiots?
You are.
Me, okay.
Oh my god. I know this one. I don't know what I'm doing here. I really don't. I don't know why I'm talking to you.
Well, you came to me, man.
I give you my information. Esther Karam, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas. Alhamdulillah. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. I hope they all fucking burn in it.
Wow, that sounds very hateful.
And the reason why I decided to choose them as the scumbag of the week, they could be easily also of the year, because they arrived to the West from the Middle East after they ran away from there because their own dictatorship. Otherwise, let's say they would have attacked their families, stole their money, raped their women. They have zero freedom of religion, zero freedom of speech. So they ran away from the Middle East and came to the West seeking for shelter. And instead of adopting the rules of the West and enjoy the democracy of the West, they are using the West. They're exploiting the West. They're doing absolutely everything to bring the shit that they brought from the Middle East to the West instead of getting rid of it. And this is something that pissed me off because you have the opportunity to build a new life under a democracy. True. And instead of that, what you do, you take advantage of the rules in those same countries that accepted you. And then what you do is you intentionally start bringing the same mentality of the Middle East to the West. Why? Why? And here's the craziest part. That victimhood card you're playing, it may be fooling some of the Europeans or some of the Americans, but it's not fooling us because we know each other. We know the mentality as well. And this is why it pisses me off. You arrive to a new place. Enjoy that new place. Enjoy that freedom of speech. Enjoy the freedom of the possibility to have a freedom of religion. And instead of that, what you do is you're putting more violence, more blood. Why? And this is why I can't handle them. I can't handle the way that they are turning the West into the new Middle East. So you know what? If this is what the Western people want, then you know, eventually, you will have to deal with it. And Europe is going into a bad, bad, bad place. So the scumbags of the week or the year is the extremists from the Middle East who arrive to the West.
Well, very well indeed. But Yosef, the question is, what does that say about the West? That they don't have any of their own values to protect? That's what really upsets me.
By the way,
where are your values? Where is your identity?
So
what are you doing?
Britain is going to have the 1 million march.
I wonder whether it's beginning.
March for whom?
They're going to be marching for Britain. And essentially, a lot of people are demonizing this march as calling it extreme right.
Racist,
in Australia yesterday.
It just happened in Australia, right?
They're starting to. And there were about 12 neo-Nazis who showed up and made some problems. But by and large, it was several hundred
just regular people
who were like.
And we should say that the people who are trying to organize the 1 million march for Britain, they literally came out, spoke and said, guys, no violent, no bringing, and no masks.
Yeah.
So like
families, they want families to show up. I know, but I just wonder whether, you know, what's really interesting to me is that the 7th of October has changed so many things, right? It changed the Middle East because it's the beginning of the end of Hezbollah, everything else that has transpired. And I wonder whether this is also has been the wake-up call to the West. Like this accelerated the waking up of everybody saying, oh, hang on. I hope it's not too late, but you're right. These people are using the privileges they've been given against the country.
By the way, one last sentence about that. Look, people are saying, so wait, are you against the extremists or against the people who come from the Middle East in general? No. Let me be very clear. When millions of immigrants come from the Middle East, only 10% of them is extreme. It's enough to make a whole mess in the Western world. And then, so what about the other 90%? They're irrelevant. Irrelevant. Because they are silent, because they actually came to seek shelter for better life, and then they got the same extremists that they run away from in Europe again, in America again, in Australia again. And instead of now having better life, they need to be, part of it, be quiet, and they're the first one to get hurt. So if you're a white European standing with those extremists, know that what you're doing is you're standing with the 10% of the extremists and not the 90% who came to seek better life. So you're harming those who wanted to have better life and better rules, and that's the reality of it.
You're 100% clear.
You see in the Middle East, of course, you see the West emboldening Hamas when Hamas are the oppressors of the majority of Palestinians and with many other groups.
And silencing the voices of the Palestinians who want to go up against Hamas. Okay, absolutely. Emily, so who's your scumbag this week?
My scumbag this week is Erdogan. Although could be a scumbag for many other weeks, but this week in particular, there was some drama between Israel and Turkey after the IDF carried out an operation in Syria to remove spy technology that was installed by Turkey, which has obviously no business doing that in Syria. Beyond that, we also saw that Netanyahu in an interview formally recognized the Armenian genocide for the first time. Long overdue, something I've lobbied for a long time. So that was a positive step. But of course, Turkey in response is throwing a temper tantrum because nothing says taking accountability for a freaking genocide of 1.5 million people.
A real one.
Like denying it together.
A real one. Not a fake one, a real one. Yes.
Yeah, so in response, Erdogan has stated that no Israeli planes will be using Turkish airspace and that he's cutting off all relations and like he always does every time a country recognizes the Armenian genocide. I remember before when America did under Biden that he responded that he was going to cut off relations between Turkey and the United States. We know how that ended up. Anyway, in sum, I don't believe Erdogan, but he's still a scumbag, an Islamist scumbag who has fantasies of having a renewed Ottoman Empire that obviously are not going to happen. So he's my scumbag of the week.
You know, there's an update on that though, right? So they said, first of all any Israeli airplanes, the Turkish sky is
closed.
Closed. But then,
and then they changed
Then they changed it.
And
then they said only military and government.
You know, all those military planes we have for Turkey.
So basically, Israel can fly, El Al can fly, Al can fly, as long as
In other words, we can go to Europe at the same time frame.
Exactly.
Okay, nothing.
Oh, and I forgot the most important part. Turkey is still a NATO member. Kick Turkey out of NATO. If you're an American, call your elected officials and urge them to push back against Turkey.
Well, absolutely, because if Turkey goes and attacks the Kurds in Syria, then
they are.
They are.
Thousands.
So what's NATO's obligation? It's very confusing and it's very complicated.
That's what happens when you have Islam.
Nobody cares.
In NATO.
Yes.
And nobody's looking at them.
Nobody's.
So all the cameras are on Israel and Gaza. Nobody looking everywhere else.
And a message to all the Israelis: boycott Turkey and do not fly to there.
Don't go to Turkey. You know, I think that what's really positive about all of this is that Istanbul used to be the connecting airport. I don't know how many times I've been to Istanbul airport. And in the last 2 years, it's been taken by Dubai. So Dubai is now the connecting airport, which I think is much better. They're friendlier, they like us, and we're
But I want to tell you something. It's not that we're actually harming the Turkish economic in a big way because we're not flying anymore through Istanbul. But this is not what we're actually trying to do here.
No.
We're trying to send a message. Israel is part of the Middle East. You disrespect Israel, you're not going to see Israeli money.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's a 1% of your economy or 2% or 20%. We need to start also balancing between the fact that we are a Western country in the Middle East.
which is really not a simple thing.
That's a whole book in and of itself, I think.
Shoshana, let me just say, Shoshana looks ravishing today because today, for the first time in court history, Shoshana is wearing a beautiful wig and we love it, Shoshana.
Thank you. Well, I cover my hair all the time because I'm an Orthodox Jew, sometimes with a baseball hat, sometimes with a scarf, and sometimes with a wig. And I was sick and tired of trying to match my outfits. It's such a simple thing with the scarves. And I'm like, forget I'm wearing my wig today.
We love it.
So here I am. So actually I have two scumbags. One is a nominee. We love when you guys send your nominations in for Scumbag of the Week. So I'm just going to read out loud. Hopefully you'll see it on your screen. This is from Ronnie Leibovich. He shows a tweet from David May that says, at Jewish Heritage Night in the Orioles game, someone came dressed as Hitler. Welcome to 2025. And Ronnie says, the Scumbag of the Week is getting easier and easier to select all the time, which is very true and very sad because here we go for mine. Okay, thank you, Ronnie, by the way, for submitting. And you guys are always welcome to submit. We love getting your submissions and we'll hopefully read them on the air. Okay, my scumbags are everybody on the internet and in the media who claims that Israel took down the legitimate government of Yemen. Kids, if you can find Yemen on the map, I'll give you a treat. Baklava. And if you can actually give me a name of one real government member of Yemen, I'll give you 2 pieces of baklava because you ain't know what you're talking about. These people are not the legitimate government of Yemen. They are, what's the word? Terrorists, just like Hezbollah is terrorists and Hamas is terrorists. They are not legitimate. They were not elected. They elected themselves. And what did they do with their power? Let's see. They took kids, boys into the military, that took girls to be breeding cows and marry them off by the time they hit puberty. Marry them off. That's a nice way to say they're sex slaves. And they shot rockets at Israel. So I'm not really sure what you're pissed about when we take out bad people who are meeting for bad reasons. So everyone, and I'll put them up on the screen, or I won't, my wonderful producers will, who are saying, how can Israel take out the legitimate Allah? Guys, you know you're lying or you're an idiot. Either way, have some baklava, shut the hell up.
Oh, yeah, baby. Hey, fire.
The wig makes me fight.
The wig, oh my God. Amazing and absolutely true.
Yeah.
Okay, so my scumbags this week, and it pains me, honestly, because I was a huge Brad Pitt fan. You know, he's the guy, I'm over 50, and he's the guy that was my hunk when we were growing up. And now he's joined the band of zombies who just parrot Hamas propaganda. Because ahead of the Venice Film Festival, world premiere, Hollywood stars Brad Pitt, boo, Joaquin Phoenix, he's got a complicated past, Rooney Mara, you did one good film, I haven't seen you again, and Alfonso Cuarón, I don't know who the hell you are. But anyway, and Jonathan Glazer, who said he doesn't want to be a Jew anymore. Get out. Anyway, these people have now put their weight behind this movie called The Voice of Hind Raja, which is the movie that tells the story of Israel killing of a Palestinian child, except that we didn't, because it's a false narrative propagated by Hamas that's created this aura around this story. No IDF troops were anywhere near this 6-year-old girl got killed. A tragedy, any innocent child gets killed. Let me repeat that. But when you use an unfortunate incident in a war as propaganda and the demonization of Jews, and you're a Jew yourself, I mean, Brad Pitt, you're not a Jew, but some of the others are, shame on you. Shame on you. Brad Pitt, I stood with you when you were having that nasty divorce from that crazy Angelina Jolie. I stood with you, okay? I was Team Brad, but I think you both lost me now. So just, you know, deal with your own crazy ex-wife, because I'm done with you. Scumbags of the week.
Well, I've always been Team Jennifer, so.
Oh, yeah. No, we were all Team Jennifer, but
I'm still Team Jennifer.
I'm still Team. You know what? The smart Hollywood people swear, you don't need to come out and defend us. Just shut the hell up. It's something you don't understand. Just shut up. You are doing nothing, and you're in fact making your own lives worse, because Hollywood is still full of Jews. They're going to come for you too. It's not just us sitting over here. It's you too. And obviously they didn't realize that yet. I'm very disappointed.
And by the way, you know what's crazy? In your when you spoke about who's your scumbag of the day, you felt the need also to say any death of any innocent child, it is really, I mean, we don't want that.
No, absolutely not.
Here's the thing. Not even a single, and you're from Israel, you're from Jerusalem here, not even a single person from Gaza, even if he comes and want to criticize Israel or the IDF, he will not add the sentence, we feel sorry for any Israeli kid, innocent kid that would be killed. They will not say that. They refuse to say that because the simple fact is that they want to see Israel destroyed. They believe in it. They believe in it through their religion and through their education that they get, despite the fact that it is completely false. And this is something that we also must point. The difference between us and them.
But it's a difference that we should be proud of.
Absolutely.
And we should embrace it.
By the way, watch this. This is exactly what I mean when I say we need to balance between the fact that we are in the Middle East to the fact that we are a Western country. This is the way we balance it. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to sanctify death. I want to sanctify life. Peace, not war. Okay? So for those exact reasons, I'm just saying that that's the difference between us, and that is the balance that I'm speaking about all the time.
100%, and even more than that, we are living in the Middle East and fighting a Middle East war under the West, under the lens of the West.
While Hamas is not getting the same treatment at all.
At all, and that's really the question. But let's finish the show on a positive note, as we do every week, with our heroes. Shoshana, who's your hero this week?
My hero this week is Luay Ahmed. Am I saying it right? Did I say it right?
He's been here.
He's been here, yeah. So he's actually Yemenite. Right? And he was raised, as we were talking about before, with an education that...
He has relatives within the
Houthis. His mother's still there. Oh, in the Houthis, he says that.
You're right. He knows what he's talking about, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Oh, he does,
He knows what he's talking about. He's Yemenite. And he, like I just did, called out all the people. I'll just read it to you what he wrote. I have been sick to my stomach watching white liberals and demented pro-Palestinian activists call a Houthi terrorist the Prime Minister of Yemen. Perhaps in your twisted neo-Nazi world where Hamas are freedom fighters, where Hezbollah are anti-colonialists, and the fascist Islamic regime in Iran are liberators of the Middle East, yes, maybe they're in that sick upside-down world Hitlerian reality, very good English he has. A Houthi terrorist is a legitimate prime minister of Yemen. But in the real world, to us Yemenis, the Houthis are nothing but a fascist, sectarian, terrorist militia that has held our population hostage since 2014. Starved our children, slaughtered and tortured our journalists, women, minorities, and anyone who dares to demand basic rights or criticize their undemocratic coup and medieval rule. It is absolutely mind-numbing to witness how far anti-Israelism rots the mind to the point where people glorify our murderers and call them our leaders. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to us, but you should listen to the people who know what they're talking about, like Luay, who grew up there, who has family there, and who suffered under this regime.
Absolutely. We love Luay. He's been on the show a couple of times and we always want him back. And absolutely, he's doing an amazing work to say. Also, he went to the UN and he said, why is nobody talking about the tragedies and the massacres going on in Yemen? Why is nobody talking about Yemen?
By the way, this morning, I saw that the Houthis raided UN offices and took 11 personnel. But you haven't heard about that, have you?
I wonder,
Somebody Houthis who did it, not Israel.
Somebody wrote another tweet. I wonder what verbal gymnastics the UN are going to use to explain what's actually happening in Yemen. Absolutely. Emily, who's your hero?
My hero this week is something we touched on a little bit earlier, but Marco Rubio. I know I did Marco Rubio like a few weeks ago, but I really, really love him. So that's why I continue to make him my hero of the week. Maybe he'll actually agree to an interview now. We'll try. We'll try. My hero of the week, Marco Rubio, of U.S. Secretary of State, for denying those visas to the Palestinian Authority. I think for many decades, for far too long, the U.S. government, both left and right, hasn't really held the Palestinian Authority accountable for the actions that they have taken and are taking to support terrorism. So it's great to see that some change is finally being made. And you know what? If the UN has a problem, because obviously this prevents Palestinian Authority officials from being able to attend the UN General Assembly, if they have a problem with it, then I think that maybe they should tear down that disgusting UN building in New York and have, I don't know, Trump Towers, Turtle Bay or something like that instead. Get them out of the United States. I don't care. We don't want them in.
Absolutely.
So hero of the week, Marco Rubio.
I love him. Maybe he can revoke Albanese's visa to show up to her own.
She's already under sanctions.
That's right. And I can't wait until Amal Clooney, I didn't say anything about Druze people getting massacred. I can't wait till she is actually kicked out of the country where her husband, another hypocrite, is living. And yes, absolutely. Marco Rubio, again and again.
Yep.
And the thing is,
how brave.
I hate the fact that people do not understand who the Palestinian Authority are.
Exactly.
I mean, they must know that Mahmoud Abbas literally said, if I have the last shekel, and he is making this gesture with his fingers, if I have the last shekel, I will pay it to the families of the terrorists.
Yeah.
He said that, okay? Let me be very clear.
Yeah.
So he is literally saying, I will support terrorism. I am supporting terrorism until the last dime. So that one. And second, the curriculum, in the schools.
Absolutely.
They have in their textbooks, they says, okay, you have 12 stones. You have 7 soldiers. How many stones you need in order to hit all the soldiers? That is what it says in the math book, okay? So,
and he's the moderate.
So this is my criticism towards a lot of the Western people, that they think that, you know what? Well, I'm speaking about the Westerns in America or in Europe. You have them here in Israel.
Absolutely.
So, good for Rubio.
I love Rubio. We love Rubio. And he's been on the right side of history every single time. And so, yeah, we can't wait to have him back in Israel. Yep. Okay, Yosef, who's your hero? Who are your heroes this week?
So my heroes of the week, the Israeli intelligence.
Yeah.
Now listen, I know on the 7th of October, they messed up big time. And we need to investigate everything that happened on the 7th of October and why the Israeli intelligence did not prevent that. But, and there is a huge but, since the 7th of October, we can see that the Israeli intelligence shook themselves, woke up, and then they eliminated Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. They wiped out the entire leadership of Hezbollah, destroyed Hamas. Just lately, Abu Obeida, the symbol of Hamas, destroyed. We're talking about destroying 90% of the Syrian army. Just lately, we managed to gather so much information about the Houthis and then we eliminated their government. Unbelievable. And not to talk about the 12-day Iranian, or should I say, it's not an Iranian war because we weren't against Iranian people, but against the IRGC, decimating the IRGC. This level of intelligence is absolutely unbelievable. And I said Hezbollah, and I didn't mention the beeper operation,
Oh, brilliant.
which is a brilliant operation.
Brilliant,
So from here, I want to say thank you to all our amazing soldiers working in the intelligence, whether it's Mossad, Unit 200, or any other intelligent unit. Thank you very much for what you're doing for us. Because of you, we'll feel much, much safer. And don't forget also in Judea and Samaria, every day they are preparing a terror attack inside Israel, and every day the Shabak and the Israeli intelligence prevent that from happening. It's not 100% bulletproof, but the fact that they are managing to bring it to even 99% is unprecedented.
Absolutely.
So the heroes of the day for me, the Israeli intelligence.
Well, they're definitely worthy heroes. And we've just seen, if you think about where we were last year and where we are now, and everything that's happened and transpired thanks to the intelligence, the Iranian intelligence in there, I mean, the guts you have to have.
That really speaks to what you said before, Yosef, when you said we have to stop with the Western mentality. Because in my opinion, from being here, living here, and looking at what's going on, that's where the intelligence failed. It's not that we didn't have the capability or the intelligence. We just believed, as our Western minds, they don't want to do anything. They're going to be happy with money. They're going to be happy.
Right.
And what happened? October 7th smacked us up and said, no, your perspective is 100% wrong. So then we finally used our intelligence. And I say intelligence both as the agencies and intelligence as your intelligence, because what happens is your hopes and your optimisms and your desires and your films that you put over yourself, it stops you from really seeing clearly. And I think that is, just to speak to your point, we had the capability, our desire
Mindset.
to believe that it was, that they were different is what screwed us up.
Well, the part that's so infuriating about it is that we see them doing the same thing now on different issues. I mean, even Trump, we see Trump talking on and on about negotiations with the Islamic Republic. You can't negotiate with the Islamic Republic. It is a fundamentally totalitarian Islamist ideology that seeks to overthrow the entire West. Any nuclear deal is something that they view as a tool to build up the program. And that is how every terrorist organization on earth operates. And we continue to see the West capitulating to Islamist dictatorships and thinking the results are going to be different. And one great example that we're about to see at the United Nations is the Palestinian statehood recognition.
Absolutely.
They think that they can quiet some of their masses by saying, oh, well, we're recognizing Palestine, France, UK, Canada, the countries that have those migrants that you were talking about who refuse to assimilate, who have been putting the entire population through hell since October 7th because they're engaging in these disgusting anti-Semitic pro-terror protests across all of their cities, loitering and leaving trash all over the cities. I don't know if you saw the aftermath of some of these protests. It's appalling what they're putting the actual cities through, and they've had enough of that. And so they think that appeasing terrorists is going to work, and it's not. It never has, and it won't now.
And it's just sad that the world doesn't learn. You know, we had it with Hitler and Chamberlain. They said, oh, peace in our time. They threw Czechoslovakia under the bus in order to appease Hitler. You know what, people? We're not going to be Czechoslovakia, just so you know. All right, so I had two heroes, and I'm finding it very difficult to give up on one. And one goes well with my scumbag, so I'm going to do both. I'm going to do the first one quickly. Israeli basketball team beat France in the Eurobasket League when they were being booed when the Hatikva was being sung. People had Palestinian flags in the audience, and they were being booed. And you know what? We won. So there you go for your booing. All right. That's
more baklava.
More baklava. Israeli Eurobasket. Thanks to Yoseph Haddad. Okay. But I want to do a parallel from my horrible scumbag Hollywood people to a wonderful, brave man called Shawn Mendes, who is a singer, a very popular, young, very handsome singer, not Jewish. And he just did a concert in Lisbon. And he got up on stage, and this takes a lot of guts, and said, to address anti-Semitism, and he said, turning pain and suffering into hatred of the Jewish people, that's wrong. He said, I know there's pain and suffering around the Gaza issue, but turning that into hatred towards Jews is wrong.
What's been happening in Gaza has been absolutely turning pain and suffering into hatred towards Jewish people as a whole is wrong. Turning pain and suffering into hatred, period, is wrong, and it's not the way.
Now, how many, and he's a young man, how many people have the, and Lisbon is not going to be a friendly crowd, have that type of bravery to get up and see things so clearly? Okay, whatever's happening in Gaza, why are you hating on Jews? Especially if you're saying the Jews in Israel or Jews and Zionism are not connected. You're basically contradicting yourselves. But I like the fact that he stood up, young man, obviously very morally clear. And so the counterbalance to those zombies pro-Hamas is young people with a brain who can actually think for themselves. So Shawn Mendes,
this is really
my hero of the week.
This is really amazing. And you know what? This is the opportunity also to emphasize more about why it seems like Israel is hated in the world. Look, in all the demonstrations, the anti-Israel demonstrations that I've been in, whether in Europe or in North America, like America and Canada, the majority of the radical ones with the voice, you know, the ones that they're screaming, are not Canadians, are not Americans, are not Europeans. They are those same immigrants that I spoke about in the scum of the year or of the week. They are the ones. I spoke Arabic with them when I was in Oxford debating whether Israel is an apartheid state or not. I knew from first minute I walked into the hall that I knew that we're gonna lose that vote because 90% of the students there spoke Arabic. All of them booed me when I said Hamas is a terrorist organization.
And by the way, Yosef, it was curated for them to be. That because my friend's daughter, who was in Oxford, she couldn't get a ticket.
Exactly.
It was curated so that the audience was hostile to you. And by the way, we made you the heroes of the week. Okay, just saying.
I have to be honest with you. I've changed my my speech because of that, and I started the speech by putting a recording in Arabic, and I wanted to be on record. Why? Because I was waiting for someone to come and say, we can't understand Arabic. And I said, that's for the 90% who can understand Arabic. And I did say that because someone challenged me and said, but we can understand Arabic. I said, I will translate, but 90% of the people here understand Arabic. So I wanted people to understand whoever is voting against Israel, they're voting because they came with it already without even noticing or taking into consideration any of the facts of any of the speakers. Those are the extreme immigrants who come. So 90% of the hatred that you see in the West is from them. Purely them. Without them, probably wouldn't even hear as much as you hear today in the Western world about.
Because they affect the weak minds of the woke who don't have their own values. And the governments. You're 100% correct. Well, this has been a hell of an episode. We've had things that we've never had before, like baklawa.
Next up, knafe.
Next up, knafe. I'm with you. And Yosef, we hope you come back again. Thank you all for watching. See you next week.